Thank you, Senator Coons. I appreciate that. And gentlemen, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for being here today. I had an opportunity to have direct conversations with several of you. I appreciate that. We are forever grateful for the leadership that you provide. Certainly the Reserve and the Guard forces are so very important to the security of our country. We certainly see the value and the benefit and are appreciative every day in my state where we see crucial operations performed daily. This is everything from the aerial refueling for the fighter jets that are up there pushing back on those Russian bombers off the coast. The search and rescue missions, of course, which are so key, the 24/7 radar operations. We see the value every day. So I'm just very grateful and thankful for that. General Nordhaus, let me begin with you. We had a chance to talk about the program element code leveling and where we were last year on this, recognizing that we were able to increase AGR positions across the Air Guard in the FY25 NDAA. We funded those new billets that we provided to the DoD after we passed the CR, so we're good there. The general question to you is, does the increased AGR positions, do they help alleviate the manpower challenges that you're facing?
Senator Murkowski, first off, thank you very much for our office call, and I really enjoyed visiting Alaska and our guardsmen up there at Fort Greely and Eielson just 2 to 3 weeks ago to see what they're doing with ballistic missile defense and, as you said, refueling fighters and aircraft that are pushing back on the adversaries. So amazing job. Thank you very much for the AGRs in the NDA 25 that helps get after a large portion of requirements that we have on not only operational but the training piece. Every AGR that we have gets after building training and readiness for our guardsmen, for the warfight, and for the homeland response that you see. So we appreciate that, but as always, every AGR that you give us is a big bang for the buck and increases not only that person's readiness for warfighting, but units of readiness across the board because they are the guardsman or service member that is working through the month to make sure the equipment and the facilities and the training plans and the exercise is set to go so that when our guardsmen show up, they can get right after the training needed to be able to be ready for the warfight.
Well, we want to make sure that the numbers are where you need them.
Yes, ma'am.
And know that we're committed to that. I wanted to ask you another question, and this relates to the effort, the legislative proposal that would compel our guardsmen to transfer into the active duty Space Force. This was a proposal that was largely adopted last year during the NDAA. Air Force has argued that establishing a Space National Guard doesn't make any sense. I respectfully disagree with that. For a host of different reasons, I recognize that. But one of the things that we hear from Air Force is this perceived cost of establishing a Space National Guard. When we talk to the National Guard Bureau, they estimate that standing up 14 units across 7 states only costs $250,000. Now, it's a pretty modest investment, but then when you look to the potential loss of expertise, if you have guardsmen that choose to move on rather than be forcibly transferred, I think you have to factor that in. Rebuilding capability is significant. We're told, and this is a recent survey, March survey by the National Guard Association reinforces that only 8% of Air National Guardsmen currently serving in space missions expressed any interest in transferring to the active duty Space Force. So you mentioned that you were up in Greeley. I'm going to have an opportunity to be out there next week. I'm hoping to get out to Clear pretty soon as well. But this is an issue that I'm hearing folks talk about up north. And so can you share with me your perspective on a Space National Guard and the cost benefits of moving Air Guardsmen to space?
Thank you, Senator, for the question. I was a previous AF Space Commander for Spacecom in my previous role, so I intrinsically know the space demand and understand it's not a benign environment. Also, as a channel of communication from the adjutants generals and from the governors, they are support of maintaining their space mission. The National Guard has been conducting the space mission for over 30 years, as you know, with the 14 units from ballistic missile defense to space warning, space control, and we have 60% of the electronic warfare. And looking into the future, I'm excited for the National Guard, and I think we're perfectly postured to support the Golden Dome Initiative, as we already do the Homeland Defense mission on multiple things, and I look forward to working with General Gutlein. We are currently executing the congressional mandate to transfer the space units, and we are focused to ensure that there is no loss of mission capability while we're taking care of our space professionals. I do look forward to working with the new secretary under his vision for space as we go into the future. I did talk to General Pirak yesterday and got the same figure, which is about $250,000, which would be really changing some name tapes and heraldry to keep the space mission in the National Guard.
Well, it just seems to me that there are ways that we can do this, and some ways that are going to be more complicated and perhaps more expensive, and we're able to keep good people where they want to be, or we can make it more challenging. Last question, and this is directed to you, General Harder. We were able to talk about the National Guard and Reserve Equipment Appropriations account. I made the observation that sometimes when you are not actually able to be your own advocate for your own budget, that sometimes it might feel like there is a shortfall, or perhaps you are second in line, maybe even beyond second in line. And I get that, and I want to make sure that that you have the resources, the modernization effort that others have, that you're not kind of left behind here. We expect you to be able to be ready to deploy right alongside our active duty forces. So given what you have detailed to me about the increasing demands on the Army Reserves, can you share the prioritization that you think has to happen when it comes to the modernization efforts as we're considering our FY26 approach?
No, thank you, Senator. It was great to see you yesterday. Talk a little bit about Alaska, but it is your Army Reserve again delivers 70 to 80, sometimes 90% of the logistics, sustainment, enabling capacity, not only for the Army, but for the total joint force. We currently have 1% of the procurement budget. So the NGRIA dollars that are allocated are absolutely critical. We continue to prioritize our equipment fielding, especially engineer equipment, logistics equipment, tankers. We prioritize that through the Army. We work with the Army on getting a bigger piece of their modernization effort. It's all about risk to the total force. I'm not delivering fuel to myself. I'm not purifying water for the Army Reserve. That's not why I exist. And so, again, we will continue to advocate for more NGRIA, and we will continue to appreciate your support as we continue to try to modernize and keep pace with the total force.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Chairman, you know, we focus so much on those that we're actually able to see that are out there executing the mission, and we forget that jet doesn't get up in the air without the fuel. And how does the fuel get there? It's kind of like, how do the lights turn on around here, right? We forget about all that. We cannot forget about that. We have to make sure that when we're talking about our budgets, we make sure that it's executed fully throughout the line here. Thank you so much. I have overextended my time, and I know our panelists have been here for a period, and just, again, appreciate the leadership and the opportunity to raise some issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Murkowski. Thank you to all of our witnesses. Thank you for